if you are 15-0, you're basically almost guaranteed to be the 1 seed going into the brackets. And it looks like we are getting started right now as Buane takes off.
Yeah, both of them starting from the Dark Sanctuary, the Dark World equivalent. You also get the option to start at Link's house, which is swapped out with the bomb shop. I think this is, you don't really get too many divergences early on. You can go south and maybe farm for a bomb for Hype Cave, or do an early Skull Woods check or Village of Outcasts check. There's some there's 2 bomb options that you can get in Skull Woods, so that's a nice starting option, I think.
Buane showing us a tree pull here to get a prize pack. I actually did not know that one existed, so I'll have to make a mental note of that for myself. But what we see probably both of our runners doing here, KillerApp is already falling in. We're jumping into Skull Woods. So in the spawn point here, we normally don't see this. There's a guaranteed bomb at the top left and the bottom right. So our runners will be using this to potentially take intentional deaths and farm bombs. Also, those middle pots at the top and the bottom have small magic pots. Those are also pretty useful. Buane's making his way to the middle point, though. This is a little bit of a riskier play in my mind, because you've got to get around all these Gibdo and push the statue in with just 3 hearts.
Yeah, and really, you're doing this, I think, a lot for the benefit of getting the bombs. Most likely, you'll see, once you finish the section, the Hype Cave check, and you're going to need 2 bombs in order to get those 5 items. That's your first, opportunity to get some really nice item density in this game. It is completely different from a normal light world with Kakariko and South Shore and so many item dense locations. You're pretty limited, and you have to immediately go into dungeons.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I guess the one way of wording it too would be like, there's some item dense locations in Dark World, but you still need items to access them. Like we were saying, the bombs. It's a lot higher level of difficulty to get there early game, especially when you're limited and have basically no inventory at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to tell, whether certain deaths are intentional or not. With only 3 hearts being in the Dark World this early, the difficulty is just really high. So expect to see players die. Most of these enemies are going to, 1-shot you or 2-shot you if you're absolutely lucky. There are enemies that, will do 4 hearts of damage.
And both of our runners have picked up, unfortunately, just a map there, but have picked up that shield. So one of the 2 items has been picked up now from Skull Woods, and it looks like Buane is going to be dropping in to make this extra check over here.
Yeah, so there were some, just to clarify the tournament seeding that we were talking about earlier, because chat's asking a few questions about it. Buane does get to advance, so he's guaranteed. This will be KillerApp's last race in the tournament. But the reason why Buane is still going for that win is the higher your seeding, in general, the higher if you get a high seed, then you'll go against somebody who has a lower seed, which is probably going to be a weaker opponent. So you get an advantage to get as many wins as you can.
Yeah, and one thing I've said to a couple people is, at this point, we started at around 250 entrants as far as the qualifiers. Then we were at top 96 here for groups. And as it comes to a close at the end of this evening, the group stage, you're down to 32 as we see Buane picking up the lamp there in Hype Cave. At top 32, the competition, there's really not going to be any weak opponents. But if you want to base it off record, I guess, it's weak at that point. But Buane also picking up that glove in Hype Cave. I think that's a pretty decent Hype Cave tonight.
Yeah, without the flippers and the hammer, we're not going to be able to get over to the pod area. But that does give us access to get up to Death Mountain now, I believe.
Yeah, Dark Death Mountain is definitely in logic. I know we've got 4 items in Thieves Town. I about said Skull Woods, but in Thieves Town. So we also have those Village of Outcasts checks. We've got Stumpy. Buane's making the play to Stumpy, and KillerApp just picking up a big 20 there in C-shaped house while clearing out the Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, Stumpy giving a full heart container. There's 6 fewer heart pieces in hard mode. I forget how many fewer heart containers there are. But there definitely are less in the item pool. he's not going to be able to do the digging game without more money, so he's going to farm some of the arrow game, and you don't see this in really basically anything other than the inverted mode, where you need these early rupees.
Yeah, either inverted or maybe some bingo with some random settings as far as like the bingo tiles go. But Buane making use of a trick here to basically guarantee 2 full cycles of not missing any. The target, as it comes across that second curtain from the right side, if you stand right beside the vendor there and fire when that target is in the dead center of that second curtain, you're going to hit it every time for 2 straight cycles. So making use of that, very nicely done there by Buane.
Now, is that a good arrow game strategy, or is that the bug that is, allowed but will eventually be fixed?
Oh, it's not a bug. It's just that is the arrow game strategy. Eventually, it does get off sync where you're not guaranteed it. It may be 3. I know 2 works for sure, and a lot of runners will do the 2 just to get a ton of rupees in case Zora or something's in play. Eventually it does get out of sync where it's not a guaranteed hit though.
Yeah, chat pointing out retro mode. You also tend to do a lot of early rupee farming, but retro mode you have late world access, and it's a retro specific bug. Thank you, chat. You have late world access, and with mitts and late world access, there's a lot of caves that you can farm rupees in that there just really is no good dark world equivalent for. Yeah,
that's absolutely true.
Yeah, light world, you can do the early hula hands. That's something you see a lot in retro is basically hula hand coming directly out of sanctuary as one of the first things you do.
All right, so Buane making the play over to Village of Outcasts now. KillerApp inside of Thieves Town here. I think that was an intentional death. Not a whole lot of items here at the beginning of Thieves Town for our runners.
Absolutely. You get that guaranteed big key in those first 4 chests, and you can continue, but KillerApp doesn't have any items that actually damage the boss. Doesn't have the hammer to get the big chest. Really no reason to continue any further at this point. Even if you can check a few locations in that dungeon, it's probably not going to be a good return on your time.
Yeah, because especially if you were to, bring blind up and then later on you have to go back to potentially check that big chest after finding hammer, sometimes that can be a little bit of a chore and a little bit of a time sink. Plus, with blind already being there and you have to either save and quit out or take a death due to not having any weapons, blind's not in that position near the middle of the screen where you can have that scripted fight.
Yeah, and that scripted fight actually, could definitely make a big difference in this particular game mode, because hammer blind, Samaria blind, these are things that are more likely in, hard mode with fewer swords in the item pool. So we might actually, need that optimized starting location in order to win the fight, especially with, 4 hearts. That's not out of the question.
Yeah, even here in inverted mode, 4 hearts sometimes this early on can be a luxury instead of, a hindrance. The luxury being you sometimes you just have to have 3 and, you're stuck with that, and that's what you have to fight blind with. And those are the times you feel like you're almost quote unquote not having any fun. But the difficulty, once you kind of get the hang of it, does make for a very good time though.
So Buane will most likely, assuming he drops out of here after these first 4 chests, and he's with a save and quit, KillerApp is going to continue on and do his hide cave check. That's going to get the gloves and the lamp. What else is open to these runners at this point other than Dark Mountain?
Logically, just that Dark Mountain, unless we were to find something else. Now, KillerApp doesn't really know right at this moment that it's in logic. Now is probably thinking, I might be getting a glove here, and then it'll be in logic, which we know he's going to get a glove. But while we're doing these checks, let's see, Buane walking up here. Let's see what is in the bumper cave spot. I think we already saw this on one side.
Yeah, nothing to kill that murdered Actyl with.
Yeah, this is bad. See, that was 3 hearts of damage, and Buane, oh no, taking a death here. You hate to see that.
It's unfortunate, but it's that's part of hard in inverted mode. You're going to see early deaths, and no matter your skill level, it's going to happen, especially with no weapon.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, like I said a second ago, finishing that original thought, while they're doing this, going through this way, we didn't introduce Reg. Reg is tracking for us today. I'm gonna give a big shout out to them. Thank you so much for doing the tracking for us.
Absolutely. I cannot live without the trackers. Trackers, they keep us honest. Killer App got, getting through the cave here in the dark world. This is the old man rescue. This dumps you out onto dark Death Mountain, which is completely open. It's light Death Mountain that is isolated in inverted, the same way dark is isolated in standard mode. But I love this old man rescue because you have to walk him all the way up the mountain, take the portal to the light world, and then jump off the mountain with him.
Yeah, the old man likes to walk very, very slow. You can't really dash with him even if you have the boots. Now, I have learned that if you've got the hook shot and you hit those bushes with him, you can actually make him kind of scoot along really quick. But, he likes to slow you down, but then you find out he's pretty athletic by being able to jump off the side of a mountain like that.
My favorite part is when you're jumping off the mountain and you turn him in, you stop and you get the item, and then he kind of like hovers in the air and then levitates down to his entrance.
Super fantastic. All right, just a bottle with a B on top of Spectacle Rock, and that's one of the things there. You can't take the cave or the man inside the cave until you turn him in. You can't go inside Spectacle Rock. And we already have our fire shield now. Being hard mode, this is going to be the max shield our runners get for the evening.
Yeah, and turning the old man in there, that does not give us that old man access point, but we do get a third save and continue point on the Dark Death Mountain, which we will be using a lot in this particular seed.
Oh, definitely. It's super, super useful. Just it's not quite as useful as the one the one we're used to here in Light World, where you can get that full heal, but close enough. It's still very useful.
So both of our players basically in sync at this point, having completed everything in logic that they're able to. They find the Moon Pearl here, Spectacle Rock Cave. Really great find. I would say this is an early Moon Pearl.
Ooh, that hint though. The boots is in Turtle Rock. That's information that we need.
Yeah, that's probably been the best YOLO play I've ever seen in that particular cave. The Moon Pearl and the boots in.
It's so much more viable now to just kind of go in there and without knowing what it is, even if it's 5 rupees, that hint might be worth something. You can't check the hint from that far away. So, we're seeing a lot more runners seem to do that now, maybe that hint's worth it.
Version 31, the binoculars are introduced for long distance hint checks.
Yeah, we're gonna have like a camera introduced, like from the newer Zelda games, where you can take pictures of things.
So the Moon Pearl opens up. Well, they can't actually do Aga Tower, Castle Tower yet, because we don't have a sword, or a bug net, I suppose.
Yeah, we don't even have the hammer or the Titan's Mitt. So as of right now, if we do Light World, we're limited to just the mountain at this point. We can't do anything as far as like the normal Light World, as far as Kakariko or anything like that. And I just missed on both screens what the check for the medallion was on TR.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to find something here in Super Bunny Cave, right?
I would assume so. This is one of our last checks, so we'll have to see if what we actually find here.
And that valuable hammer.
I was talking about the hammer. There it is. So now, this is where it's wide open for our runners. At this point, almost all of Light World is open to them, and we could see huge, we could see sync again, or we could see huge route divergence. So we'll have to see what they do here.
So it's nice. That could have been a sword that would have opened up Castle Tower and given them Light World access that way. Either way, though, right now we get into basically the standard mode opening, and we got a really early Moon Pearl, like I said, for an inverted seed. It was pretty open, just sitting out there.
Yeah, that was very conveniently placed Moon Pearl, honestly. Yeah. Especially in my experience with like the hard mode stacking up. But we see a map check For Light World, the vanilla green pendant there on Eastern Palace, and it looks like Tower of Hera is one of our 5/6 crystals.
Yeah, perfect sync coming into Cave 45. Opting not to get those 10 arrows. We're gonna continue on, and we're gonna get race game check, library check, and the all the items in Kakariko. I don't know how many there are, but that's our most item dense location.
Yeah, we can actually fully clear out Kakariko now. We've got that bottle, so Sick Kid is also viable. It's really nice to be able to just go in and do every last bit of it at one time and not have to worry about coming back.
Exactly. Everything in the Light World except Magic Bat we'll be able to do. Both players have enough money for the bottle vendor, so we can knock that out as well. It's going to be a very lucrative check. Continue on and check out the Lost Woods area. When you're done at that point, there's really no easy way to get back to the South Shore. I guess you start at the Link's house again, and then you take the portal again.
Yeah, you have to take that portal, and every time you have to, do those few screen, transitions, hammer the pegs down, go through the light to dark, or dark to light world in this case transition, it does become more of a time sink, as we see just a heart container here with the Sick Kid today.
Yeah, we did find, of course, a boots locked rupee in the library. But we know the boots aren't Turtle Rock, so we will be able to get that rupee if we want to.
We can get that super important rupee a little later, potentially.
Hey, if you're going to pod and you only have 109, maybe you decide, hey,
at that point it becomes essential.
Exactly.
But just a few, I think it's $5 there inside of the chicken hut. Bottle vendor, just 10 arrows. So, that's another thing about inverted mode here, and I'm not saying it's completely useless here yet in Kakariko, but sometimes you don't get any progression in Kakariko, unlike, the normal standard and open modes.
That's a good point. I mean, a lot of the key items that, you're going to get, Mitts, Glove, Moon Pearl, that are your normal Dark World access, you're going to have them at this point, simply because they're requirements.
I say we didn't get any progression, and we get the bow and the silvers here inside the well, right beside each other almost. But we're not going to be able to use those silvers. This is hard mode after all. Those will only be used for that Ganon fight. But hey, at least that's some peace of mind for later, just to make things go faster.
Yeah, that's just lazy coding, putting them together like that.
There's something about a fire and an ice rod right beside each other too. I just sometimes I don't even know.
Oh, nice. Now all the blue items are good to go. What the hell?
All right, guys, this is because of what I just said about Kakariko potentially having nothing, and I guess we blessed them in some way, because now we have Bombos as well. Holy cow!
Our poor tracker. Reg, hang in there. You can do it, Reg.
I want to thank Reg again for tracking for us, doing a great job with so many items coming in all at one time. This is insane.
Yeah, and any lag you might notice on the tracker is we're going to overload the speed gaming site. What a blinds hut.
Is this
I
even
had to
hard
stop
mode?
to think for a minute to think of what that opened up.
So there's a lot in play now. There's a whole lot in play. So one of the things we may see our runners do, we may not. There's the cape too.
Is it go mode?
So no, we're not quite there yet. But we may not see it, but we do have logical access to do all of escape if we needed to. There is the opportunity to do all of escape, including the dark cross area, because we do have lamps. So that is also in play.
So let me ask you a question about the cape since we just found it. I know the bumper cave entrance changed, and you have to to mirror from the light world to the dark world in order to get that ledge item. Do you still need the cape to get past a bumper, or is it just a different cave altogether?
So basically, there's a little, we'll call it seasoning of entrance randomizer here in inverted mode. If you noticed, we went into what looked to be bumper cave when we went up to Dark Death Mountain. By doing that, what it is now is it's the old man cave. So in Light World, instead of going up to the mountain, you're going to be in Bumper Cave, and you come out on that top ledge, and then you mirror. That's how you get it. So you still need the cape for if there was something actually up there on the Bumper Cave ledge.
All right, that's good to know. So Buane gave us our Ice Rod cave check. Killer App, he's going to check Sanctuary, and then I guess the Graveyard Ledge over here, which you do not need the mirror for. That's our Ice Rod.
Ooh, Ice Rod inside the Sanctuary. So we don't have to worry about that later. Now we do have a pendant there in TR, but this is all dungeons after all. So you're going to see all 3 pendant dungeons completed today, and you're also going to be seeing AGA 1. I can't guarantee, chat, that you're going to see a ped pull, but who knows? Maybe you can hold your breath for that one. We'll see what happens.
This can still be a true Dante seed if we get the fire rod here in Graveyard Ledge.
Oh my gosh, no! Just the now we're a Pepsi can here on Killer App side. I really do enjoy the sprite of the soda can.
Yeah, now that I got to point out, that is our one and only mail upgrade. There is no red mail at this difficulty level. So it's definitely nice to have, especially with the reduced hearts. Killer App is showing us the back of escape. Really quick check to do. Buane getting the shovel, the soggy shovel at the dam.
Now, both of our runners here getting those fetch quest items. So Killer App just picked up the mushroom back there in the back of escape, where we just said Buane got the shovel. So now we might see some fetch quests. It kind of depends on how they can and if they even want to route those in. You know, those are time investments.
Yeah, turning the mushroom in is not the trivial check that it is in standard mode. You can't flute up to that mushroom vendor anymore. The flute will take you to Dark World locations.
Yeah, and it's super convenient, but it's that double-edged sword type deal. As we see the bug net here inside of Mini Moldrum Cave, but nothing else of value there except some cash and some bombs.
Yeah, and Killer App he's doing the back of escape, isolated sewer chest, a not insignificant heart piece.
Now, Buane's swimming up here to the Lake Healy Island. That's another change here in inverted mode. There's actually call them a boat dock if you want to call it that, but a ladder, whatever you want to call it, a platform. You could just get straight out onto that island, pick that item up if need be, but looks like we are not getting that item today.
Now, is there any way to get off of that island if you go up there with a fake flipper?
No, you have to save and quit at that point. You're locked in, unfortunately, unless you have the mirror and the flute, and you want to flute away from the island area, you know, in Dark World. But it's kind of one of those deals. If you want to do that island and you see something on it you need, and you want to check Hobo Island or Hobo Under the Bridge as well, you want to do that first so you can fake flipper back out.
Well, we are back in the Dark World over on Killer App's side, making that pod play, and this is nice because that bow pickup means that he can full clear this dungeon now. No mirror to... okay, I'm messing up my modes again. I was going to say no mirror to check Sashral's up, but that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's so inverted can be confusing. I do the same thing myself, but one thing that I could say good about having that bow, though, we're going to have single dips of both pod and Eastern, no double dips today, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, and with Eastern being the green pendant and able to immediately turn that in over here at Sashrala, that's really convenient. Not much in the closet there, just the blue boomerang. But we will be seeing him again before too long. I guess Buane going to do Eastern first. This makes a lot of sense. You're already in the light world.
Yeah, I'm sure, you know, if I'm in the runner shoes at this point, I'm thinking, man, I wish I had Turtle Rock access. I really want those boots. Because, you know, you feel like you're going so slow when you don't have boots, but you know where they are. Yeah,
that's a good point, and you know, I'm definitely aware that Turtle Rock is absolutely available, which is something that you know you really do have to stop and think about. That there's 4 ways to get into Turtle Rock now. We can't get in the front, but we can get in, you know, 3 of the other entrances, and you know, if we find the Cane of Samari in there and the keys, you know, we can even work our way backwards to get to the front of TR.
And it looks like Buane picked up Blue Mail inside of Eastern Palace. So if that confuses you a little bit, when we said that Blue Mail would be the highest we would see, so in hard mode, there are 3 mails laying around. However, In hard mode, once you get that first upgrade to the blue mail, the other one turns into, I believe, some form of rupees, aka a trash item. So both of our runners will be stuck here with the blue mail for the rest of the seed.
Yeah, I believe they're 20 rupees, but they're the numerical 20 instead of a red rupee.
Okay.
That's how most of them work.
All right, so KillerApp giving us a look. We got to go through the bow-locked room here with the mimics, but then shortly after that, we'll be able to go up this little treadmill, if you want to call it that, and see what 2 items are on the right side of pod as Buane is picking up that big key in Eastern finally.
Yeah, and going through this hellway here is going to make it stop and remember. Boots are in TR. Can I get to TR yet? That is a much more fun room to do with the boots.
All right, just some keys on KillerApp side for now. Buane opting to skip the vanilla big key chest inside of Eastern Palace. Going to be heading straight to the back to go ahead and take on Armos Knights to get that green pendant.
Yeah, so after this, if he wants to get into Palace of Darkness, he has to save and quit and then restart from Link's house and then walk over. He can get there now with the hammer. That's the route, right?
Oh yeah, it's a little more convoluted here in inverted mode. It's not as cut and dry as we're used to, for the 20-some versions before this.
I'm trying to break, almost 3 decades of muscle memory. You're being very patient with me. I appreciate it, Danzy.
No, so I'll say this: if anybody in chat, Buane does a very nice job there to take out those Armos Knights, rewarded with that green pendant and just 5 rupees there. If you're kind of intimidated by inverted mode, but you've played the randomizer before, by all means, seriously, give inverted mode a shot. Inverted is a lot of fun. It'll put a smile on your face, as crazy as it can be.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get past that initial difficulty challenge, maybe start on easy mode. If you're just playing by yourself, you'll be able to pick up more heart containers, additional mail upgrade opportunities, sword upgrade opportunities. Easy mode will be a great way for you to to learn the changed mechanics without having to fight with all the deaths.
All right, Sahasrara just had 10 arrows for us, and just some cash here in the dark maze for KillerApp in pod. So it looks like no real progression right now from Eastern or pod. Now I know we have a couple checks left here in pod. 300 rupees. I guess you could call that progression if you're intending to check Zora.
A nice death warp setup for KillerApp. Chat said that Buane missed the vanilla big key chest in Eastern, which contained an item.
It looked like he opted to skip that, so hopefully that's not anything that's going to bite him. I wasn't item counting there. I know we did find 1 item inside the big chest and 1 item inside or after the Armos Knights, so I know we found at least 2. I'm not sure if we found all 3.
Yeah, so something to keep in the back of our minds if we're find ourselves missing an item later on. But I think KillerApp, he's got all the items now, so it's just heading to Helmasaur and finish off the boss here to get his first crystal. And Buane's given us our first look at the front of Escape. We saw the back, but we haven't yet seen these front items. 3 chests that we can find here.
Yeah, chat pointing out that it was a 50-50 going to the back, and we got that last item in the back of Eastern, so Buane just kind of orphaned a compass inside of Eastern Palace. So we do not have to worry about potentially leaving some item.
Oh, excellent. One less thing to worry about.
And Buane picking up the mirror here inside of Escape. That's going to be useful, especially going down to the bottom of Escape, checking that last chest, and being able to mirror and come straight back to the beginning. And if he so intends to, he could go straight to the back of Escape through the dark rooms and get out through Sanctuary. And if he does, he'll be rewarded with that ice rod.
Yeah, finding mirror, even in standard mode, finding mirror in the front of escape is super fun. Just being able to do that check. The small key was in the back though, so he'll be able to get to the one chest, but he's still gonna have to come through the graveyard.
Yeah, it would save a check from not having, if he did it that way. My thought would be, and I'm kind of speaking for him here as we see KillerApp start to take on Helmasaur here, is that, if Buane is intending to go to the back of escape, which if you do the front, I kind of think you're going to want to do the back. So probably going to be making that play now. I would just assume he would.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to open the chest. It could be the key, and that would continue. We know it's not, but it makes sense to check it.
Oh yeah, you're right. That key was on the backside. So that unfortunately will be a roadblock for Buane, but we'll see where he goes next, as it looks like KillerApp is finishing off phase 2, the final phase here of Helmasaur.
Yeah, 1 silver arrow, but no silvers in hard mode. So 8 regular arrows, and Helmasaur, he was just ducking and weaving there, dodging those arrows.
That was the fastest Helmasaur I've seen in a while. Just a big 20 on Helmasaur today, but KillerApp is rewarded with his first crystal.
Very nice. So, Buane, this would be a good place to do a pyramid check, right?
Potentially, yeah, and I think that may be what he's setting up. Yeah, that's exactly what he's setting up. So we'll see what is on the pyramid today. Maybe not. We might mirror bonk. That's one of the weird things. Mirroring is new. It's really hard to do and learn in inverted mode. Just 5 rupees there. There's a lot of places you can mirror now that you normally couldn't, and you end up mirror bonking because you're out of bounds. So it's, you might see a lot more mirror bonks than you normally do here in inverted mode.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. So he hasn't done any of he hasn't done Zora, catfish, the waterfall fairy checks. So those are 2 things he can do. But he's going to finish up the back of escape first, I guess.
Yeah, we may see. All right, so this will settle what we were discussing, because he is doing Graveyard Ledge. We'll see if it becomes the green 20 or like a big 20 or a big 5. I'm not sure what it becomes. The blue mail, I mean, or the mail upgrade.
Right.
And it's a bit, so it's a red big 20. So as chat was saying at one point, they thought it was a green 20 was only for swordless mode, and apparently that is the case.
Learned something new today.
Hey, if you learn something new every day, then by the time you die, you're going to be very, very smart. Unless you're playing inverted mode, and then, sometimes you die like soon as you jump out of Link's house.
Yeah, now that, unfortunately, he's going to actually walk out of here. That's interesting. I guess you don't see this
a little faster to go to the top, but he's not going to save and quit out because he has not checked Sanctuary, and without that being a save and quit spot, there's no real easy way to get here. So you'll see runners like drop into the back of escape and then walk out just to get that item.
This is pretty clever, and this also keeps him in the general area that he needs to be if he does want to continue to turn in that mushroom and then do the Zora's domain checks. He's where he needs to be.
So we've got a lot of items. If you're just joining us, Blind's Hideout seemed to have everything in Light World. But obviously we've got some things we're missing. Clearly, we do know from a hint that boots are in Turtle Rock, and we do not have the flute, but we may not need it. And since this is all dungeons, we're definitely going to have Book of Medora today. That's one of the fun things about inverted mode. You can't mirror into desert anymore, so it is a hard requirement for inverted for you to have the book.
Yeah, so can you go through the requirements for, are there any dungeons that still require the Titan Smiths to get into? I don't think there are.
There are not any. So if you have Titan's Mitts, the only thing that it will, like, that it's the only location you can get to, like, I guess you have to have Titan's Mitts for a specific location, would be King's Tomb. There's no way to get to that without going out of bounds, unless you have Titan's Mitts. But everything else, including the Blacksmith Chain, you can do with the mirror. So we may not even see Titan's Mitts today.
Yeah, I did watch another inverted race, and that ended with it. I wasn't. That was defeat Ganon though, so I wasn't sure if there was maybe an all dungeons requirement that I'd missed. But yeah, it's really weird not seeing the mitts at the end of a scene.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's definitely the first time it happens to you when you're running it. Like, unless you knew it going in, it's something that's, you know, super confusing. As we see just a big 20 here on Catfish.
Yeah, we do have four more little checks that we can do up here in Zora's domain that are all currently available and in logic.
And Buane doing a nice job of routing. I do want to point that out here in inverted mode. Coming over in Light World, being able to utilize that mirror and go to Dark World really quickly to check that catfish, come back here to Light World and do these last checks before I'm going to assume saving and quitting to go to a new spot.
Yeah, catfish might be one of my favorite things about inverted mode. There's a lot of really nice shortcuts to get up to you know, this area in the Light World, but getting up to catfish in the Dark World is just normally such a pain. Being able to mirror back there, that's an improvement for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's much more convenient. And Zora just has some very expensive bombs for us today. Buane not even opting to pick those up, as he is at, I believe, full capacity on bombs.
Yeah, so KillerApp finishing off Eastern is going to get him his green pendant. I'm back in. Buane heading up the mountain. Let's see. What are we going to be doing up here?
So now we do have mirror in hand. We don't have the Titan's Mitts, so we don't have Light World access. I take that back. So this is what our scenario. We have the hookshot. So if we go to Light World, we could potentially go to the east side of Death Mountain. On top of that, we could use that to mirror inside of the back of Turtle Rock, maybe finding those boots we saw in that hint tile.
Is there a dark stone for the portal on the east side of Death Mountain?
Yes, if in Dark World there's one to get you to Light World, but since we have the hookshot, we can just come over here, and since we have the mirror, you know, with this being inverted, we can mirror to Dark World from Light World. So at this point, we have, you know, we have the hammer, we have the mirror. We could do a lot of TR, a lot of checks in TR without the cane. I probably say that, and we'll find the cane here in a moment. But we also could go ahead and do Mimic Cave as well.
Yeah, and then in addition to, of course, all these Light World checks, we also have Hookshot Cave in the Dark World that we weren't able to do initially. No boots, no hookshot. So many items.
Yeah, it probably would be a good idea. I would just assume to route in while you're up here. Go ahead and route in Tower of Hera. We do have that fire source in case that is required. Buane checking Paradox Cave, Heart Container, and a Heart Piece for the first two chests. And there's that 10 bomb pack, 5 rupees. And there's our Ether Medallion. So there's our front side access if we need it to TR.
Yeah, I think the only reason you might want to put up Hera a little bit is, you know, the fact that it's an all dungeon seed. We know we're going to be picking up that book in order to do Desert. So you might want to save it for when you get the book so you can do Ether. Otherwise, it'd probably be a good check.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, because that's a long, far off location too. And there's our fire rod there on the island. That's one of the changes with inverted mode as well. Since you can't mirror back to Light World, there's a nice little convenient bridge there for you to get across.
Yeah, we're gonna check Hookshot Cave now. We're still looking for that Canis Maria to get our full Turtle Rock access. With that fire rod, if we get the cane, then Turtle Rock becomes a completely obvious full clear.
Now, it's not really smart play by any stretch, but if you could hover and you had the boots, you could potentially at this point go clear Turtle Rock if you really want to hover all the way there, but it's not, I mean, logically it's not a smart play, but it is a play you could do.
You're saying that just because you see Andy hanging out in chat.
I gotta give people some hard times when I can.
Nothing in Hookshot Cave, so we are seeing the Hera play. These are going to be two items, and of course, a mandatory crystal. So it really would be nice if this is our book. Then we can just check the ether tablet while we're up here, because that's just not going to be convenient to wrap back in later.
All right, just the big key in that first item. KillerApp making that South Shore play to knock these checks out. Now, I don't believe we've seen ice. Have we seen Ice Rod Cave yet?
We did. We saw that very early on.
Okay.
Went over there.
And we got a hint there. There are 2 hints here in the Tower of Hera. That first one saying a unique item was in Hookshot Cave. Well, we just got that, and unfortunately, it was just, I believe, a boomerang.
Yeah, we've seen some trash lately. Boomerangs, the bug net. KillerApp. KillerApp's still looking for that mirror, so he's not going to be able to do that really efficient catfish Zora loop that Buane did until he picks that up.
Unfortunately, I feel like there's a good bit of progression potentially lost here until KillerApp does get that mirror.
Yeah, he's going to do the other 4 checks, just not going to be able to do catfish. Fortunately, catfish, didn't have any, important progression, so it's not the end of the world. It's just less optimal.
Yeah, for sure. So again, nothing there in the waterfall cave. We are going to get a check to see what the fairy is providing for us in our bottles for free. Let's see. It is a red goose, so a little bit of help there. That's one thing to note about hard mode. The potions only refill 7 hearts and half of your magic if you have a magic potion. So that's another difficulty spike there, as Buane makes very quick work of Moldorm.
Yeah, that's not typically that big of a deal, though, because you usually have so much health in hard mode. A 7 heart refill right now would be all health.
Oh yeah, for sure. We get the late game, though. You see that difficulty spike up even more, like for swordless, which this is not swordless, as we see Buane holding a sword above his head from completing that dungeon. Looks like, I don't know if we got our second item from Tower of Hera, but Buane is leaving, so I'm going to assume either he's leaving an item down in the basement, or maybe, it was just a compass.
Yeah, KillerApp also noping out on those bombs. Buane making the TR dip here.
It's such a convenient little drop down. And we do have our invincibility items. Now, these do still work. I don't know if Buane's going to remember that, but they do still work here inside of TR's laser bridge.
Yeah, Cape will use twice as much magic in hard mode, and the Can of Burna will not make you invincible versus enemies in hard mode, but it still will make you invincible versus the lasers, spikes in the floor, and it uses less magic, so it's still a good option.
So there's some of our changes for inverted mode we were kind of hinting at earlier. So we got 3 keys and the big key for TR inside of Laser Bridge. So now we could use a nice little mirror to get up to, we got to walk all the way back up, unfortunately. But we could do the big chest right now as well.
Yeah, coming in through that would be the Mimic Cave entrance. We could do Mimic Cave and the big chest, and then we could see. We can get to the.
You can pretty much backtrack and do most of everything except those first 3 chests of this dungeon, which it looks like Buane is making that play now. KillerApp. I'm not sure if KillerApp has decided to make the Aga play, but we are headed back up the Dark Death Mountain.
Well, we could do the roller room, the big key chest. We just can't get to the entrance ones. Well, they have the ether, so they actually can. No, we don't have the cane. Sorry. Just the roller room and the vanilla big key chest and the actual big chest, I think.
Yeah, I believe you're right. All right, so here's our play on the big chest. Let's see if we've got progression here. Just another key. So we've got 4 of our keys here for TR. That's quite a few keys.
So Buane's gonna do the roller room first, and then presumably backtrack and do the vanilla big key chest. Can you? And then you actually you could backtrack all the way to the chain chomps.
That's correct. KillerApp making his way now through Hookshot Cave as we see Buane just getting the map of TR. So gotta hope for KillerApp's sake that he does go and get the mirror from the front of Escape.
Yeah, nice use of the hookshot from KillerApp to avoid those Lionels. Much easier than their first time through here.
Oh yeah, for sure. The Lionels, they hit a ton. It doesn't matter if you have blue or green mail, they hit a ton. It's not so much with the red mail, but since this is hard mode, we are limited by not having that.
Weighing down the 1 heart. Fortunately, you can just mirror after this and then take an intentional death. And there are the boots. Thank you.
All right, it's time to go fast when we actually have hallways to dash down.
And I love that full magic pot there. It's really, really conveniently placed. I got to point out too, we see all these anti-fairies everywhere in these late game dungeons, especially in Turtle Rock. Even if we had the powder in hard mode, you just get a heart instead of a fairy from those things. So it's really not the safety that it normally is.
Yeah, no doubt. It is very much more so punishing, and you don't really have anything to really save you. So Buane leaving TR now. Can't say I blame him. Boots in hand. Or on foot rather, we could go and potentially check Bonk Rocks, and if we really so desired, we could go get that nice 1 rupee that we found inside a library.
So maybe I'm sure this is me, but why did we not see Spike Cave since we walked past it like 100 times?
Well,
did they move it?
It's in no Spike Cave is in logic, but this is what I was worried about earlier. Runners are really conscious of hard mode being your cape does 2x of drains 2x of your magic, and the Cane of Burna does not grant invincibility. But the big difference here is KillerApp's picking up his fire rod now. The difference is those specific rooms that require it logically, they actually give you that invincibility, and it doesn't drain your magic 2x. So we have both of those items. So Spike Cave is fully in logic with Hammer as well. Yeah,
and given the fact that you have to take that dark portal and then you can save and quit to the Dark World as your Death Mountain as your starting location, it's not the time-intensive check that it would otherwise be. So I was a little surprised to see you walk past so many times.
It's still, it is still a little bit of a time investment. You think about as a runner, like, man, it takes so long to jump down and go in, and it's just one item. I don't know. It's one of those deals where if you gamble it and it's got something great, and if you don't, then it's like, well, my opponent's probably not going to gamble doing this as well, because it just feels like it takes forever.
I mean, that makes sense. I just want to make sure that it didn't move to another location that I didn't know about.
Oh no, it's as vanilla can be. It is sitting right there for our runners to potentially find progression in. So the mystery's still out on Spike Cave. And KillerApp's now making his way up Tower of Hera. Buane inside Palace of Darkness. Boots in hand, so this will be a little faster, I think, than KillerApp's clear.
Oh, definitely. There are a decent number of straight rooms. Buane coming into the the Hellway right now, not having to waste bombs. We're able to bonk open these rooms. It's the whole game is so much easier, of course. But we're not going to find any progression here in Pod, and we're also not going to find any progression in Hera for KillerApp. KillerApp still has to make his way over to the front of Escape to pick up the mirror. That's the location that he's missing at the moment. But we gotta get boots marked on Buane's tracker. Really, I think the Can of Samaria and the book, they're the must-have items that we're still looking for.
Now, KillerApp down to just half a heart, but did flip the switch, so is going to be able to recover some of that health before heading up to Moldorm.
So we can do a lot without the cane in the book there. We can full clear Thieves Town now. We can full clear Ice Palace with that Fire Rod and Bombos. Swamp is a full clear. Desert is a full clear. I mean, there's
there's a lot on the table now. Desert is not a full clear just because
Desert
of that stupid pesky book requirement. But now I am paying a little more attention here this time. KillerApp doing a nice job there to finish off Moldorm, but there is an item down inside of the Hera basement. So let's see if KillerApp decides to go down there. Now, he doesn't have that many more locations to check. Still looking for that mirror that Buane found and escaped, so we may see KillerApp go back in. Looks like he's going to leave that item behind as well.
Yeah, now that is a time-intensive check. I would check it definitely before I check Hera basement.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But just watching, KillerApp do the walk of shame here in Spiral Cave. That poor little Pepsi can going so slow.
It's doing its thing, rolling right on through.
Yeah, it's valiantly trying, but it needs the boots. Some of these sprites, I don't know if the Pepsi one does. They'll do blue Pepsi, and then you'll see something completely different as the red Sprite. Like maybe you'd see a Coke or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an homage to a red Coke can, since the green male is the Sprite can, if we want to call it that. Something trademarks and copyrights.
Yeah. So KillerApp re-entering the light world here. This might be our, potentially our front of escape check. I think this is as close as you can get. See where he heads.
So this is where I'm really hoping for KillerApp's sake that he does go to escape, and it does look like we're finally going to get that escape check. So KillerApp will be rewarded with that mirror, and then potentially heading up to go ahead and mirror over into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, and this is a good check, and one thing about inverted mode is that a lot of Dark World dungeons are open to you. So he can get into Thieves Town, he can get into Ice Palace without the mitts. So there are a lot of other options for him that are more item dense than the front of escape. So it's not the obvious play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially after like that fire rod. That fire rod was huge. So
yeah,
very very good idea, I guess, as far as randomly picking to come to escape. Like it's gonna actually reward him pretty well.
Yeah, I think a lot of players, they would just say, I'm going to dive ice, I'm going to clear it, I'm going to dive Thieves Town, I'm going to clear it. I get the fire rod, I can finish off Skull Woods. I mean, a lot of players do take that, always be clearing dungeons approach. And if there's a dungeon they can focus on, that's the priority.
Yeah, the dungeons always seem to be priority. So, KillerApp heading into the room now to get that mirror. Buane's taking on Helmasaur King now inside Palace of Darkness.
Buane using hammer strats instead of arrows. 4 hammer hits. Hammer does your same damage as Tempered Sword, but little tiny hitbox. That is pretty difficult to pull off, so that was a really nice Helmasaur from Buane.
I've seen 2 runners now to use that hammer strat against Helmasaur. It was Buane now, and I saw Andy do it at one point. And for the longest time, I had tried for swordless practice to figure out if you could use hammer against him, and I didn't think it was possible. So, yet something again that I've learned. So it's calming these matches is just like a huge learning experience as well.
Yeah, I would probably say that. I mean, maybe half of the fights I see, especially if you have Fighter Sword, maybe half the players will use the hammer. Master Sword, then that tends to be, I think, a little bit more common. You'll go for the 4 spins or the 8 slashes.
Oh yeah.
If you don't have the bow, but yeah, Hammer Helmasaur, it's a tough fight though, just because the hitbox is so limited. Now, Killer App has already done the back of escape here, so he's done. He just needed to pick up that mirror, and he'll be able to do these, these pyramid checks. He already did the Zora stuff, so he kind of orphaned catfish. That's a less likely check for him to make, but he's headed. I have no idea where he's going.
Now, this is kind of a more commonly seen area. Now, he's backtracking and, like, changing his mind, it seems. But that's a quick way if you need to get up to the north side of Light World or, the western side. That's kind of a faster way to do it versus walking all the way around, if you're in that area, I guess. But doing that pyramid check now, it seems, and Buane has headed into Swamp Palace. We got 6 item checks in Swamp Palace, so this could be very lucrative potentially.
Yeah, pretty valuable hint there as well, telling us that the whole chest is just going to have some cash. I don't know if either player is going to do the Smith's chain at this point. They're getting so much item progression elsewhere, but even if they do end up starting it, they're not going to have to finish it.
All right, first chest in Swamp is just a small pack of bombs, so nothing of use there yet.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised to see Buane not do left side Swamp at this point. He's still looking for enough, both the boots and the cane. He's got a lot to complete, but I think it's a little bit too early to be skipping 2 locations. We'll see if the map or compass don't show up.
Yeah, skipping at least for the first dip of Swamp, and I say first dip, but they usually clear it out and come right back in. Skipping left side is kind of common. It kind of just depends on what you find in the first couple chests. KillerApp now making his way into Thieves Town, so we'll actually get to see what's in the backside of this now.
Yeah, this is a good option. We saw both players dip those first 4 chests, but not being able to proceed with no weapon and no hammer at the time. KillerApp back. He's got everything he needs to full clear this, including the big chest. And there's Arcana Samaria in Swamp Palace at the compass location.
Your cane is pretty huge. That gives us, I'm not going to say full Mire access because we do not know that medallion requirement yet. It could be Quake still, but if it's one of the 2 we have, that means Mire is fully open to us.
Yeah, that gets us a lot closer. I mean, that could potentially mean that we're only looking for the book at this point, once we find out what that medallion is.
Yeah, so this is turning out to be a decently paced. I'm not going to say overall, but so far the pacing of this seed has been pretty generous to the runners as far as inverted goes. A lot of times you'll see, let's see, we just got bombs and compass there in the flooded chest, but a lot of times in inverted you'll see very well-versed runners still taking over 2 hours, just depending on how the early game plays out for them.
Yeah, the early hammer, the early moon, the gloves, everything lined up nicely, and of course that blind's hut was just amazing. The hookshot was a great stun item, since we can't stun with the boomerang. We had the hookshot first. But more so, I would say, is the fact that we didn't see the cascade of early deaths that you typically see. We got a couple, but neither runner just got stuck in one spot, dying over and over and over.
Another thing to make note of here, we mentioned that we're just a book away from go mode potentially, but we're still sitting at fighter sword, and we can't damage Ganon with that fighter sword as it stands. So we're going to have to find at least 1 more sword. And as we see Buane doing the slideshow menu strats here for with the hammer on Argus.
Yeah, he was attempting to use the fighter sword spin strats, which do work if you're able to get 2 puffs and you do a spin. If the spin hits the eyeballs twice, it will kill them. But it just it wasn't lining up nicely for him. This hammer strat is a little bit more consistent, even at the expense of being a little bit more annoying.
Oh yeah, for sure. And over on KillerApp side, delivering blind to that the boss room. I love how blind or the maiden there is nice and blue, matching the sprite color at the time.
Yeah, KillerApp definitely benefiting from saving blind until he had the sword, is able to do the optimal pattern here and get the perfectly scripted fight. A little bit off there, but still very nice. They both get a crystal.
Yeah, very nice job by both of them there, taking those bosses out. So that's going to bring Buane's crystal count up to 3 with 1 pendant, and that also is basically the exact same standing, but just a slightly different variance in the dungeons completed on KillerApp side.
Yeah, so Buane not heading back in there. He did get quite a few items, so I don't know if there's 0 or 1 items on the left. You might have gotten all the items, but I need an item tracker. But you were talking about swords, though. I mean, sword's a good point. We're going to need the Master Sword at least, and there are fewer sword opportunities in hard mode. So we might have to actually check a lot more chests than we otherwise would want to.
Yeah, I can't talk. The highest level sword, the max level sword is what I was trying to say, that we're going to have today potentially is level 3. We can't go above that. So Buane now opting to do this Smith's chain here to get Jeremiah the Bullfrog, as we call him, over back into Light World. It's much easier there with the mirror. You don't have to even have Titan's Mitts, which we still don't have.
I'll admit, Buane was really faking me out there.
You thought he was going to get the green rupee.
He was climbing the stairs to the library. I'm like, maybe he really wants that rupee. But chat was better than I was at keeping track of those items in the swamp, and they say that Buane did leave 2 items behind, having picked up the map and the compass. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Maybe we'll see a divergence when KillerApp gets to swamp.
Oh, and there's our flute here in the Hammer Pick game. Now, that's not really going to do a whole lot for us, except make things a little more convenient, I guess, as far as traveling around the Dark World.
Yeah, it doesn't actually open anything. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Just a convenience item.
It would usually open things, even in inverted, but since we have the mirror and the pearl, obviously, because we're here in Light World, it really doesn't do a lot as far as, opening things. It's not a hard requirement for the Mire area anymore. Mirror will let you in since this is inverted.
All right, well, it's nice to get it at the Smiths. It's a quick activation, and it's going to save you time. But KillerApp on his Mothula fight. Hammer Moth, a good choice if you only have the fighter sword, and he's out of magic. I think with Blue Mail, it's equal to getting hit by the spikes. So there's really no difference in bodying him versus taking spike damage.
And it looks like just 50 rupees there on Mothula. So KillerApp getting another crystal for the moment, taking that crystal count lead. Biggest difference right now is Buane has dipped into Swamp Palace and cleared that out, except for the left side, and found that Cane of Samaria in the south room. I believe that you said it was the compass room.
Yeah, in Swamp.
I have no idea where these vanilla locations are anymore. I just call them as they are geographically on the map.
Buane's also done quite a bit of Turtle Rock. Now with the cane, he can finish it when he gets back up there, but he did go in there and at least pick up the boots. I imagine KillerApp having the mirror now is prioritizing that TR check as well.
Buane did a very nice job there, kind of getting that God Pixel, as we call it, and being able to dash straight up that hellway. Very nicely done.
Yeah, going for that one Thieves Town hint right there, that's a hint I really don't think it's worth the time having to go up the stairs, check the hint, down the stairs, hit the switch, back up the stairs. Probably one of the least useful, hints in the game as far as time commitment is concerned.
It's just like that Spectacle Rock hint, where it's never worth it until the one time it actually was, and it cost you a race.
Well, the Spectacle Rock one at least has an item sitting next to it.
Oh, that is true. That has a little more allure to it, for sure.
it was just a joke hit. So this particular seed, there was no value here. But Killer App, doing the Mimic Cave check and in place to do the Triple Rock checks as well.
Yeah, if Killer App goes through TR, we'll be picking up their boots as well. So that is potentially puts them almost back at even footing. That Canis Maria being the biggest difference at the moment.
So he did not go down the right drop to go to Laser Bridge, and that's where the big key was.
Correct.
So he's gonna have to make an
first
extra climb.
Unfortunately, right. Yes. And then if he wants to go back in, gonna have to drop down yet another time to go to the big chest area. Right.
And that's, of course, where the boots are. So that's going to be a required third climb up here, up the mountain.
Yeah, it's one of those deals of it just, you think about it and you're like, okay, I'm going to route this as efficiently as I can. And then suddenly you jump down, and then at that point you can't undo that. So you're, at that point you're committed.
Right. Nice blind fight from Buane. Tech, that's flawless.
All right, so that evens up our crystal count yet again. Buane probably, I'm going to speculate, going over to Skullwoods after this. It seems to be logical just because of how quickly we can knock that out.
So I'm just thinking about Killer App's routing here. So he did go in, he got the boots, but the key layout means he really does have to do that TR trip first. Sorry, not the TR, but the Laser Bridge entrance first.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, there's it's a 50-50 shot. The big key can literally be in almost any location of TR except the big chest in inverted mode. So it just kind of all depends on what the logic is going to have you do.
So I didn't realize it would let you come through that locked door backwards, but that does make sense.
Ooh, taking a hit there from one of the chain chomps, down to a half heart. So going to have to play this very carefully to get this 5 rupees, and going to go ahead and take that intentional death to get a health replenishment.
Yeah, you kind of do want a suicide there. It's like you're diving for the chest.
Oh yeah. And if you take a death there and something's in there and you have to go back, it's totally not worth it.
Nope. He's making his way up the mountain again. The time for the. If he wants to check the big chest item, then that's going to be another trip up. Buane, meanwhile, going into Skullwoods. This would be a fairly quick, just clear out the back here. Killer App's already done.
So we're in a weird situation where, we're still at Fighter's Sword, as we were saying a little while ago, and we don't have that book yet. Buane does have Canis Maria, which Killer App does not. So barring us needing Quake for the Mire area, logically, we could potentially find that book on the pedestal.
Well, I mean, a possibility. Desert being a crystal, and the only thing that requires the book, it's a possibility. I would really like to see one of the players head into Ice Palace next. I think that's a good opportunity to get those 3 items and the crystal.
Oh, for sure. And with 3 hints there, that could open up some, I guess, it could open up some knowledge about what was on the left side of Swamp Palace, whether it be useful or whether it be trash. So, if we get lucky and that hint is actually over there, and describes that for us, then we might be able to glean some more information from that as well.
Yeah, and we got the flippers very early too. Palace has been available to us. I mean, even before we had Light World access, we could have gone into Ice. We got an early. Where was Fire at? Was it the floating island one?
That was on the floating island, yes.
All right, but did we get Bombos early?
I believe that was in Blind's Hut, in the massive amount of Blind's Hut.
All right. Yeah, that's right. It was the back of Blindside. All right, so we did need at least light world access before we got the Ice Palace access.
All right, Killer App coming back here into Light World and Kakariko side. Buane headed up the mountain now after taking out Mothula.
So this is probably to finish off Turtle Rock, I would guess. Having picked up that Cane of Samaria now, yeah, he also has the Ether Medallion, so he can enter Turtle Rock.
Now, looks like we're finally getting that Spike Cave play.
Ooh.
Jumping down and pausing for a minute, probably to think, all right, is this thing actually going to provide me invincibility here in hard mode? And we're about to find out that yes, it will in just in this room and in Laser Bridge and, you know, rooms that require it.
Well, this has to be something good because I was asking about the half an hour ago. Oh!
10 whole
curse.
arrows.
He was low on arrows. That helped.
Nice little replenishment there. Very useful, especially if we're going to use that bow against Vitreous. So yes, we did find a helpful item there.
And maybe looks like we lost Killer App because his timer's also frozen. Hopefully we'll get him back without too long of a delay. Yeah, I am surprised that neither player has checked, you know, the Desert Mire area. You know, Buane has that flute, so he can get over there quickly. We can't get in the desert, but we can do, you know, Misery Mire. I want to know what that medallion is, at least. We haven't even seen that.
Yeah, we're an hour 11 minutes in. Still don't know what that medallion is, but I mean, the progression and the potential of what you could do with this seed blew wide open when we got all that stuff in Blind's Hut. So, you know, it's kind of been... the runners could potentially be a little overwhelmed with checks to begin with. Now, we are kind of winding them down where there's not a lot left, but, you know, we'll see if this one-off check here in TR is a good play. Now, we don't have the opportunity to do the whole mirror after GT and knock out Aga Tower because of the way Inverted works. So what we may see is Buane go ahead and knock out TR and then do Aga while up here, since Aga 1 is inside the original Ganon's Tower.
So maybe you can help me with the thinking there, but why would Buane not have gone in the front of TR?
So here's how this works. He jumped in the back. So when you clear out TR, it automatically opens up the head of Turtle Rock for you. There's no cutscene required, so you don't have to sit there for it. It's a small time save, big, you know, in some regard. But he'll also be at the front again. So like I was saying, if he did want to do that Aga play, it's fully available to him, and we didn't have to sit through that cutscene of watching Turtle Rock open.
So you could do the front of TR
after clearing
without that medallion, then.
Correct. After clearing this, I'm not sure how the logic works with that, but at least, I mean, we have it in hand, so I'm going to fully assume that there could potentially be some logical items there for us.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Does the logic assume that you'll kill Trinex to get entrance without the medallion?
Yeah, I won't comment on that because I'm not 100% sure, but I guess my gut tells me, you know, I said I wasn't going to comment and then I am, but my gut tells me that you need to have that medallion logically, but I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me.
Well, I guess it probably doesn't make a difference because if you can get the Trinex, then you have the cane. You could always...
Right. Makes sense. All right, and very nice fight there by Buane on Trinex, rewarded with that red pendant. Just also rewarded with a red big 20, so no items of value there on Trinex today.
No, but there are 3 chests in the front of this dungeon, and they're pretty quick to check. So absolutely makes sense to go back and get those.
And he's actually opting to skip over that hint. I mean, I know at this point we're looking for potentially 1 item or 2 items with the sword, but, you know, sometimes that hint may tell you where something sharp is.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad if that gave him like the hint about what he skipped on left side swamp. You know, there are hints that will tell you what those two items are. A great hint to find if you skip them. The firelock section of mire, those are, and the big bomb, those are also two very valuable hints. But it is possible just to forget about a hint tile. You know, you're going in the dungeon, you're thinking about the items that you need.
I'm not really sure what Buane's doing.
I think Buane
taking
is
a scenic route there.
Yeah, he's thinking about something else at the moment. He's like thinking ahead where I'm going to go next.
Yeah, he's planning out, you know, his meal for the day, so to speak, you know, and missed his bus stop. Did get a heart container and a big 5 there. We'll see. I think, did we get the check over in that first bottom left chest?
We're going back for that one too. Oh,
all right. Some cash is in plain sight. So, we'll just call that very valuable 1 rupee that was inside of the library. All right, Buane opting to leave after TR. Kind of thought he might do that Aga play, but now we are getting a look here finally at the mire area, and it looks like it's ether, so we do have our medallion that we need to get inside of Misery Mire.
Nice. So that's everything we need except the book for Go Mode then.
All right, we finally got that second bottle. Potentially could be useful, maybe not, but you never know.
So the light world just has checkerboard cave level at the ground, I think, right?
That is correct. So we could do Agina and we could do checkerboard if we just ran over there. And I don't believe we've done that yet, correct?
No, this is the first trip that either player has made to desert or mire area. I mean, obviously we have yet to see the desert and light world mire check though. KillerApp's back. Looks like he's back at the moment. He's paused, so he's going to be at a 6-minute delay here, and we're definitely going to have to keep track of that if the race narrows as far as who seems to be ahead. And that's a big enough gap that unless something really massive changes on Buane's side, like he loses a significant amount of time, we're probably not going to be able to really tell who's ahead until we actually see the final official times. Ooh, God Mode Mire, big key.
That's always nice to find when you're in Go Mode.
Yeah, exactly.
And it always feels absolutely terrible when you're going to full clear it potentially, looking for, both items. But it's still always nice to find because if there's our first of 2 items. So maybe we can, I don't know if it's efficient routing, but we could check the big chest and maybe not have to do the cutscene chests.
Definitely a possibility, but if you find the first item in the spike room and you have a key, I think the play is you just go to Vitreous and hope you find the second item Vitreous.
Yeah, that's very viable as well. KillerApp now making his way through Swamp Palace. We mentioned he was headed in there, so we'll have to see if he opts to do the left side. If so, that would be new information for us. All right, Buane opting to go ahead and check right side. I can't say this is a terrible play. Probably smart to do, especially if you get that item here. So here's this first check. It is the second item, just some bombs. So now we know we can just go straight and clear this out. So it's not quite a Go Mode dungeon, but I'd say it's pretty close to it. All right, so if you're joining us now, two big factors here. Oh, KillerApp finally getting King of Samaria there in the bottom of Swamp Palace, but not going left side here either. Buane left both items on the left side of Swamp So those are still a mystery to us, as well as the Tower of Hera basement. All right, so Buane's going to be making his way to Vitreous now, and KillerApp getting just these bombs and the compass here in the underwater chests of Swamp Palace.
Yeah, I want to know what those left side items are. I feel like the book is going to be over there.
It potentially could be.
So we're at the point of the seed where I think, inverted is, we saw a lot in the first half hour of inverted, but at this point we know it's just clearing dungeons, and hard mode is more of an impediment to the runner's success than inverted is at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. So Buane now taking on Vitreous, while KillerApp is taking on Argus. So Buane utilizing those bomb strats, now taking a hit, luckily does have a blue potion, so there's that 7 heart refill we were talking about. This is quite a difficult fight here. It's almost like playing it swordless. We do have that level 1 sword, but it's super inconvenient to use that level 1 sword on Vitreous, I think.
I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you have to use spins. I don't think you can actually hurt the eyes with just a slash with the fighter sword.
I do believe you are correct. So Buane making use of the hammer now has exactly 8 arrows to pelt into the phase 2 of Vitreous here, and that is just enough to take him out. Very nicely done. Going to be rewarded with the next pendant.
Yeah, very nice execution. I'll just say, talk about strategy. One option for Vitreous when you're in a low percent fight like that is we saw Buane save the 8 arrows and he took out the individual eyeballs with the hammer. You can use your arrows on the eyeballs and position yourself in the very top right corner. You'll be safe from goo damage, and then you can just take your time with hammer swings and finish them off that way. It's a little bit slower, but it's definitely safer.
Oh yeah, for sure. Buane now making that play we were so desperately looking for at one point into Ice Palace. 3 hints in here, and also 3 items. KillerApp has finished off Argus, being rewarded with yet another crystal. Very nicely done.
Yeah, KillerApp used the fighter sword spin strats and executed that very cleanly. So problem if you're Buane is that we're looking for obviously that book as our go mode item, but we still need that sword. We can get up to tempered sword in hard mode, no gold sword, but we can get up to tempered. Logically, all the swords are. It's stupid to say logically everything's available by Ganon, because everything is, but. The game expects you to have tempered, but you can do it with master, and I think master would be perfectly fine at this point.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, both of these runners are very, I believe, well versed enough to do this, since especially with silvers, in hand. The Ganon fight's not too terribly difficult with just the master sword spins. We're not talking 54 spin or 52 spin slashes silverless at this point.
So I missed that hint. It said something was in the big chest in Swamp Palace, but I missed what it was. Did you catch it?
I did not, actually. Unfortunately, I saw it like the tail end of it, but I did miss it.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody in some arrows are in the big chest in Swamp. So that's one of the 2 items that they left behind.
Well, that's good. That means one of the items on the left side is the big key. So we're literally just orphaning 1 item at this point, which, it could be, because at this point, the book could literally be anywhere. Like, it's the new ice rod.
It so is. I mean, technically, the ice rod does block fewer locations, I guess. But
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's true, but I mean, as far as where it can show up.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
we're
not,
running out of
going to
location.
be. Yeah, it's not going to be in Ganon's Tower. It's a crystal dungeon. So it's not going to be in GT. I wouldn't be surprised if we find our next sword in Ganon's Tower. But the book,
Right.
It's got to be here in Ice Palace or one of the remaining overworld locations. I'm trying to think like what overworld locations haven't we seen across both runners.
And we know we just saw and there's the big key there for Ice Palace, but we did see the Pyramid Fairy there for Killer App, and it didn't appear to be anything either. So we're running really low. There's another bottle there on Buane's side, and I believe that's 2 of the 3 items here, if not all 3.
Yeah, bombs in the first chest, and then that was the second item. Herod Basement is one. Chat points out left side swamp as of course still holding 1 item. Both of those could be the book. If we don't find it, I think we've done all the overworld locations across both players and hints. I think we've seen them all.
Well, at this point, I see chat chomping at the bit here that PED is in play. It definitely is. We have all 3 pendants. Now, we don't know what's on the PED because we can't check it because we don't have the book, because we're kind of thinking, hey, maybe the book's on PED. But, you know, like I said, book could literally be anywhere except Ganon's Tower at this stage, or it can't also be inside desert. But, yeah, we very well could find that on PED.
I think as a rule, if you blind pull the PED and you get the book, you have to use the book to read the pedestal.
Yeah, you know, I wonder what it actually says when the book is on the pedestal. I've never actually checked that.
It says, is this a paradox?
Nice.
Ice Palace, big chest. That's our 3rd item for the dungeon. Our Quake medallion that we don't need for anything. But
well, if we want to see a nice little cutscene and, you know, slam that sword into the ground, then you know we've got our item for it.
Yeah, so no reason to check any more chests in this dungeon. And Killer App not far behind in this dungeon, but of course, like I said, we are completely thrown off on time now, and it still has Meyer and TR to do, so probably behind on dungeons.
All right, so Buane making use of that bombos to instantly melt the shell there of Cold Stare. Now, just as Fighter Sword, so if he's going to use Fighter Sword, which he did for that first hit, just to kind of hit just to knock them back, they have to be spins, kind of the same thing we were talking about with Vitreous. But using Hammer and using that Fire Rod, making Cold Stare look super easy, almost as if he had the Butter Sword in hand. But a very nice fight there from Buane.
Yeah, he did get 3 hammer hits while Cold Stare was in the corner and was able to get all 3 puffs at the same time. So really, really nice positioning there, and saving that magic by using bombos. It's a little bit slower, but man, that Fire Rod really burns down those cold puffs. So there is another crystal for Buane. He's at the point where he's gonna probably check Pyramid Fairy, which we know is nothing, or go back and do those one-off locations that he missed.
Yeah, and I kind of want to say that you're gonna see probably these last little overworld checks before we see him backtrack into the dungeons.
Well, Pyramid Fairy here, I mean, this is 2 items here, so you know this makes sense because his only other options are 2 one-off locations. Hera, we talked about earlier, is very time-consuming to get to. It's a complete loop of Death Mountain. Ooh, trying to do a screen transition skip there. Get your bomb! Get your bomb! Come on, boy.
Ooh, that was a little scary there. Could have wasted 100 rupees, although we do have plenty today with 600 still after buying that bomb.
Yeah, this is neat. This is the route that you normally take if you've you know, in your standard mode and you've killed Aga. But I guess with inverted, this is the shortcut you can always use. But we're not going to find anything here, so this leaves. I mean, he didn't orphan, like you said, he didn't orphan catfish because he got that in initially. He's done all of escape.
KillerApp down to half a heart here. Now, luckily, threw that bottle into the ferry. Has that safety with that free red potion from the fairy lake. And unfortunately, Buane being reminded, you don't have the Titan's mitts, so gonna have to take the longer trip around to get access back into Light World.
So this is our pedestal check, presumably.
KillerApp did a nice job there finishing off Cold Stare. So very well done. Crystal count for him is up to 6, I believe, and still missing 2 pendants on his side, though.
Yeah, the KillerApp taking the time to get that free red potion really paid off, saving your life there in that Gold Star fight.
All right, chat, here we go. Let's see, is the book on the pedestal today?
Oh! Literacy! Come on, you know, go back and use the book.
Paradox Pet it is. All right, so
my heart, man.
We're technically not in go mode, sadly. I've actually never seen a race where the go mode item is going to be a level 2 sword, but that is the case where, well, that's the situation we're in right now.
I have seen this many times. And I think that you assume that you're in. Where's he going?
He's gonna make this Aga 1 play now.
That's right. This is all dungeons. I was correct for a second. I was like, "What's he doing this for?" I thought he was maybe thinking he was making this mistake that I was, and forgetting that this isn't Ganon's tower.
No, we do have to clear Aga 1 today. That's one of the fun things here of all dungeons.
Yeah. But yeah, I've seen the situation come up a lot. I've seen players, you know, kill Aga 2 with the fighter sword and then have to go on a sword hunt. It's not super common, but it does happen. I think that you basically have to approach the game as if you're in go mode and hope that you find a sword en route. At least when it comes to overworld locations and out-of-the-way dungeon items, you hope you're going to find one in Ganon's tower.
You know, I don't like to really, I guess, speculate, you know, item locations, but, you know, it would be a little funny and ironic in a way if the 2 item locations that Buane has orphaned that we don't know are 2 sword upgrades. So we'll have to just wait and see where he's going to find that sword. There's a lot of checks in GT, so we could find every single sword upgrade inside GT as well, but we may have to do that, you know, after we get that key.
Well, we are seeing some new locations over here. This is our first Light World check of the desert area, so this will be our first Aegina's Cave and our first look at the Desert Ledge item. We're not going to be able to pick that up yet, but if KillerApp does decide to go take a peek at it and sees a sword, that's going to be good knowledge.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So we did. Both players checked lumberjack. That's just. Oh wow! There's our sword.
There it is. You called it.
So that puts us in no mode at least. And KillerApp. I mean, he's running out of. I'm assuming he still has to do Misery and Mire and Turtle Rock because we. Well, I mean, we didn't lose any time. Checkerboard Kid. That's another location we haven't checked.
Oh, there's our powder now. So Magic Bat is in play as far as logic goes. So that could potentially be a sword too. But, you know, like we said, KillerApp just needs that book right now.
Yeah, the time delay is throwing me off because it looks like KillerApp is really far behind. But then you take into account the 6-minute difference here.
Yeah, I would say that even if it is evened out, depending on what happens, you know, obviously I know we're looking at a 6-minute delay and a lot can happen there, but Buane has a slight lead. It just depends on how long it's going to take him to find that sword.
Yeah, picking up that sword definitely is going to make things easier for KillerApp. And we looked at the Vitreous fight, you know, Buane having to use all his arrows and the hammer. KillerApp is at least going to be able to do some sword spins. So some of these rooms will be easier for him, and that might give him the opportunity to pick up a little bit of time. And of course, Buane, you know, we know where one sword is, and there's only 2 spots left that we don't know of that could have it. So if Buane wants to just rule out Light World Desert, given the fact that he got the book, though, he's probably just going to find the sword immediately as his next check.
Oh, yeah, possibly. We may just see him go, you know, it's very possible he goes straight into the desert. One reason he decided probably to take out Aga 1, to kind of explain that if you don't really know the way inverted mode works. So you saw him pop out there on top of Hyrule Castle. Well, that is where kind of the pyramid would be if this were, you know, if this were Dark World. However, Ganon's like bat location is going to be there once we clear GT, but the vanilla Aga 1 location is now GT. So we could just do a save and quit out of here since we have that mirror, and Aga 1 is dead, and we'll appear right at GT, which is super convenient and fast.
Yeah, it's the exact same strategy that you see in non-inverted mode, where you'll do the exact same thing and then save and quit back to the pyramid. It's killing me though, Dante. Absolutely killing me. He checked the Bombos tablet, but not Aegina's cave.
I mean, in his defense, I'll say this: Aegina's cave takes a little bit of time. You gotta go inside, you gotta climb a ladder, you gotta wait for a bomb to explode, and then you're going to desert anyway, and you can't flute back here from Dark World, so it's kind of a time sink. And I don't know if Buane feels behind right now, but as long as he's been, you know, searching for one item, he could feel like he might be behind.
It's also sometimes preferable to save that for after desert, because you can save and quit instead of having to walk back out of the cave.
Absolutely.
If that's the routing that he's going to do, then I'm going to say props to Buane. You know, you're thinking ahead. If he just skips it though, especially having the boots, I'm going to be crying, because that's a lot of time he's going to spend looking for another sword potentially. So we will not have to wait long. A minute, he'll be able to kill Ammo very quickly with that fire rod, and hopefully for his sake, he won't forget the poor old man hiding in the cave.
All right, now KillerApp is headed towards the back of Misery Mire, going to be taking on Vitreous. Should have a little bit of an easier time, potentially, since he has that Master Sword.
Yeah, skipping right to the desert, that play makes sense, because, you know, it's, if you find the item that you need on the boss, you know, then you're done. So that, like I said, I don't mind skipping the Aegina's cave until you've done desert. I just mind if you end up skipping it altogether. But KillerApp actually being able to damage these Vitreous eyeballs with the sword slash, using the nice cape strat, as long as you spam the slashes, it does not use that much magic, even on hard mode.
You know, it's a very heads-up play there by KillerApp to do that, to take that, get those extra hits in. Both of our runners here on bosses, of their own respective bosses, just kind of a world apart, if you will. Basically in the same area of the world, though. And Buane has finished off Landmola, getting his 7th and final crystal. And KillerApp now finishing off Vidi. So Buane's still on the hunt for that elusive sword.
Yeah, they've been timing these crystal medallion sinks pretty well. Oh, Buane!
All right, so Buane is saved and quit. So we got to do this really quickly. We didn't mention... All right, we just started that bot, so get those guesses in really quick. We got to get that going. So Buane has finished up. and headed into GT with a fighter sword.
Yeah, I forgot about the bot. Sorry.
All right, so let's explain that game that we just played and has already concluded. Sorry about that, chat. That's one thing about inverted mode. It can happen and just go away so quickly. If you are a Speed Gaming supporter by either subscribing to any of the Speed Gaming family of network channels or have donated at least 250 bits to the Speed Gaming family of network channels, you have access to our leaderboard and could potentially get on that if you guess or closest to the guess of where the big key is, as we see Buane picking up the Titan's mitts inside GT, courtesy of inverted mode.
Thank you, inverted mode.
But yeah, so we will be seeing what number that key is very shortly.
Coming up on number 6 and 7 in the Hope Room. He's doing the Stalfos Room first strats. I'm not gonna call them by any other name.
Yeah, kind of surprised that, you know, you kind of see people go right, then you see them go left. Now, oh, is Buane about to make the tile room play? He is. I mean, I guess it makes sense to just route it all in at one time because he is looking for a sword after all.
Yeah, KillerApp, he's finished off Meyer. Much better Vitreous fight, you know, with that Master Sword. Back in Turtle Rock to finish this off fast. This is going to give him that last pendant. So if he makes the play directly to pull the pedestal, which is not an unreasonable play to make, he's going to be in a really nice position because he will be in full go mode having that sword.
Yeah, no doubt.
Any sword that, I mean, there's a good chance that any sword Buane finds in this dungeon, KillerApp was also going to find and will give him tempered.
All right, Buane running a little low here on time. Is he going to make, yeah, he did make it through that door. Nicely done.
We got 9, 10, 11, and 12 coming up.
A lot of cash and some arrows, so we're up to 12. No key yet. And I'm sure Buane's okay with this, knowing he needs a sword.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're doing the checks for the GT Big Key that we have to do anyway. Even if he finds the GT Big Key, he'll probably continue opening chests. There's just no other item dense location in the game like Ganon's Tower. So if he finds Master Sword, though, then he'll probably stop.
We may not get this far, but I'd like to point it out. So one of the fewest or least amount of checked chests we find, I worded that terribly, but the smallest like percentage chest you probably check in a game is of Randomizer is that Ganon's Tower big chest. And in all honesty, we could find a sword in that. You know, that could be where the third sword is.
Absolutely. That's something you'll see a lot more in like a key sanity race when you're looking for, you know, a small key or something and you're clearing all of Ganon's Tower having already had the big key. You don't normally see it in too many other locations. This is one of those times where a play like that is absolutely plausible. That's number, was that 14 right there? Still no.
I believe so. I'll do some math in my head while we see what the rando room holds.
Oh, Reg has already beat us to it in chat. 15 to 18 in the randomizer room. So 15. There's a sword.
There's our sword. You know, big thank you to Reg, our tracker, for us, making sure that we know exactly what numbers these are going to be.
Yeah, trackers are gods. You have to have the trackers. Amazing people. I can never ever be a tracker. So there is, I mean, unless KillerApp does full right side, which is not super common, he's going to get that sword that's going to be tempered. Tempered versus Master is a very, very significant time savings. A little bit less so the fact that they both have silvers, it's still a big savings in that Ganon fight, though.
Oh, most definitely. All right, so can't take a hit here, or we'll die. We have just a half heart here on Buane's side. Nice job there to avoid that, and just the map here. So now we know it's going to be one of these last ones.
Yeah, KillerApp does have the powder there. It's only worth 1 heart to powder an anti-fairy, but at least it gets the anti-fairy out of your way. Nice ice armor setup. 20 arrows still. You only need 4 to get through the first room going upstairs. So he's in a good situation on arrows.
That's number 20. 21. It looks like today it is number 22. That's the first time I've seen one of those in quite some time.
I gotta say though, that's actually in Buane. You know, that's a best case scenario for Buane that forced him to find that sword. And that's going to also force KillerApp to go through all of those checks. So Buane's not really losing any time there. He could not have hoped for a better key position.
All right, so congratulations to the Chain Nerd with the guess of 19, our closest supporter as far as the guesses go. So congratulations.
Yeah, I don't know if Buane has any safeties. This is going to be a really, really difficult gauntlet. He's got
we do have that safety bomb room we can get to, and we can see if we can get those fairies. So we definitely can get a safety, but we've got to get through these 2 rooms unscathed.
Yeah, gotta be extra careful with these mimics and those spikes. I am surprised that he just tried to dash through that. That was a gamble. And I don't know what's going on KillerApp's side. His timer's still ticking. Yeah,
we'll have to wait and see, because, I mean, this is kind of close.
Some technical difficulties, it seems.
All right, Buane made it through, got those 2 fairies, so we're going to see how Buane does going up this gauntlet now. Should be pretty easy, I would say. You know, it's vanilla enemies. We don't have Randomizer today, but we only have Master Sword, so just going to have to, you know, be mindful of that going up. That's the one difference, I guess.
Yeah, he's taken advantage of the sword beams, just really trying to conserve every heart he has with only 10 hearts. Oh, there go the sword beams.
Well, I mean, we had them for a moment. They were kind of nice, but making use of the arrow, too. Very nice shot there to get rid of that little mini Stalfos. And we're through the gauntlet now, so on to land mode 2.
Very, very nice land mode, and managed to save enough magic here that picking up the small pot. I'll be skipping the small pot.
He said he didn't need it today. Probably going to use that lamp. That lamp, he should have enough magic to handle all this.
Yeah, he will with the lamp. Oh, yeah, he will. Picking up the small pot would have let him, you know, do an extra fire rod shot and save a little bit of time in the torches.
Yeah, it's going to be just enough magic here. Going to get this pot. Probably use a fire rod shot, obviously, to hit this last one. There is a full magic refill here in this laser room, so we'll be good for the next room.
Yeah, this is a very nice GT from Buane. He's had no problems doing this all with Master Sword. He's used very good Master Sword strategies as well. Which I think is really just don't be too aggressive.
Yeah, really, you know, you can't rush a Ganon fight with Master Sword. It's when you do, that's usually when bad things happen. Because we're sitting here with Blue Mail as well, and we only have 11 hearts right now. So there's a lot that can potentially go wrong.
Yeah, and like we see him using the hammer here. You know, to avoid the potential of poking Moldome with the sword and getting him into the fast phase. That's a smart call. Just to, it's a little bit slower, but played safe.
Very nicely done there. Gonna check this chest, and just a piece of heart today on the Moldorm chest. So now we're gonna be heading up to Aga 2.
And having already done Aga 1, he'll be able to just immediately do Ganon. He's got everything else that satisfies the all dungeons requirements. It's just this and Ganon.
Yeah, it's kind of almost, doing it the correct way is almost backwards, It's kind of like with all dungeons, as we see a 2-shot here from Buane. Usually with all dungeons, you try to see people do Aga 2, then Aga 1. That seems to be like the runner preferred standard, but since it's not as conveniently placed and inverted, we're actually going to do it the vanilla way as far as 1 and then 2.
Yeah, if you don't need Aga for your Darkwood access, you do frequently see Aga 1 be your last boss, because that's also, it's right there at the entrance.
All right, so now Buane is headed into the Ganon fight, and we'll see. He's got 9 arrows, so should be plenty after being able to activate silvers in this room. Going to be 12 spin slashes here for phase 1, 12 spin slashes for phase 2. The 4 normal spin slashes you would see, I guess I say normal, but it's just 1 slash per, I guess, floor tile side falling. So we'll see how this plays out for him.
Yeah, I don't think the silvers really helps with the difficulty of a Ganon fight with Master Sword, because it's the second phase that is really the difficult phase.
For sure.
Yeah, silvers is going to save you time in phase 4, but these 24 Master Sword spins, that's...
Yeah, and these fire bats still hit for a ton of damage coming, coming in with blue mail.
Exactly, and he just doesn't have any safeties left, I believe.
Ooh, taking a hit there, down to 3 hearts, so we're gonna have to kind of hold our breath here for Buane. Hopefully he does not take any hits now. Luckily in that top right corner, going to be able to get 2 per spin now. Very nicely done there. And we are on to phase 3.
Oh man, Ganon's all over today.
All right, so I think we're gonna have more teleports than we did convenient items in Blind's hut.
Well, let's not exaggerate. That was a pretty good Blind's hut.
Oh, it was. Holy cow. All right, so that is our final hit for phase 3, and we are on to phase 4. So this should be pretty straightforward. Probably gonna hopefully get, missed the torch glitch there. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Gonna have to do a spin slash to get the, to get Ganon turned blue to use the silver arrow.
Yeah, it's definitely risky using the fire rod to try to get the torch glitch when you're using Master Sword. Without any magical safeties, that's a bit of a gamble.
Oh, for sure. Buane doing a nice job here. I think was that number 3? Yes, it was, because there is number 4. So, Buane is taking down the big pig, so I always say this, but as long as he doesn't have any trouble with this bridge, get your GGs in chat for Buane. All right, and we'll get you that official SRL time. Buane has finished in first place with a time of 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 47 seconds.
Yeah, GG's to Buane, and we also do have an official forfeit on the record from KillerApp23. So that's the end of the race. GG's to both of the runners.
All right, and I believe Buane is going to be joining us here for an interview. Let's get him in, and we are now joined by Buane. GG, Buane.
Hey, everybody. GG's.
All right, so we got to ask it. How'd you feel about Blind's Hut today, having basically every bit of progression for the early game?
It was really hard to track, honestly. You're trying to keep, the items in your head until you go back up the stairs, so you have a second to click your tracker, and it's like, wait, there were 4 things in there. What the heck were they again? I guess I'm not going to complain about a bunch of items in one spot.
Yeah, it can be, a double-edged sword. You find it, and it's like, this is fantastic, and then you walk out, and you're like, I think I forgot something on my tracker. Kind of like you were saying, but the pesky book was kind of what was holding you up. That and the sword. I was saying to Tiru earlier, at least in my experience, I haven't seen a lot of races come down to a person's go mode item being the sword. So that was, I'm assuming you were hoping to see a late key inside GT, so you had more opportunities to find a sword.
I was definitely going to clear all, if not most, of GT, even with the early key. I mean, I had done almost everything. I got to assume that there was a sword either at Checkerboard or Agina, and the other sword, I don't know, maybe Ether Tablet or King's Tomb or something like that. Because with just one, I really expected 2 swords in GT with as much as I had done. So I thought the odds were pretty good. Was looking for both a sword and the big key, so I was like, you know what, let's do Tile Room also, double the chances that something I need is here. But yeah, I mean, tons of items really early. That kind of seems to be the theme with Inverted in the few Inverteds that I've played once you get Light World access, which in this seed was very quick. You tend to have access to so much, you're showered with items. Just no book, of course, and no sword.
Yeah, that can just be, almost too hectic, because I know what you mean with the whole inverted thing being wide open. There's a lot of chance if runners were to enter at the exact same time into Light World, there could be a crazy divergence right there, and that could be what makes or breaks the game or the race in some instances.
Yeah, definitely. And add into the fact that Inverted is still relatively new. There's not a lot of people that have a ton of Inverted experience, and this game goes smoother when your routing is more instinctual, and a lot of those inverted instincts are not quite there yet. So there's a lot of hard thinking when you're trying to route around the overworld, and when you've got Light World access at the whatever it was, 10-minute mark, 12-minute mark, like in this one, you do have to maintain your focus. I will admit, at some point, maybe it was like an hour and 25 in, I did check my inventory just in case the book was there, because I was getting pretty low on locations. I was like, I got a lot of items really early. What if I just didn't track the book like an idiot? So I did do a menu check really late and was relieved to not find the book there. But yeah, it's just it's a new mode. It's different enough to trip you up in ways you're not expecting. So happy to get through another Inverted unscathed.
Yeah, very nicely done. We'll go ahead and spoil it for you a little bit. That other sword upgrade was in Agina's cave. I'm not sure if you saw that in chat.
Okay, that makes sense. I left both those items down there after Desert. Didn't want to clear Desert and didn't want to do those last 2 locations. I think besides the book locked spots, those were the last 2 overworld locations that I even had left.
Yeah, for a while, I think those were the only 2 overworld locations between the 2 of you, because of the slight divergence you guys had. We had so much that had already been done. It was kind of like, well, we're full clearing all these dungeons and not finding a sword. There's got to be something in GT. There's got to be, potentially something in the desert area or maybe inside desert. But yeah, it was definitely, it was kind of weird though, just, not having that sword for so long. But I have to say, very nicely done. All dungeons, sub 2 hours. We're at 1:53 for the time on that, so very well done.
Yeah, it was a fun race to watch. There were a few other locations that we never saw. KillerApp did pick out the powder, but we didn't actually see the magic bat check, and we didn't see you, Buane, head back up to do Ether, and you got the mitts in Ganon's Tower, so that opened up the King's Tomb as well.
Yeah, I think in 75% of the Inverteds I've done have had mitts in Ganon's Tower, so I was pretty much expecting to run into them once I got up there. But I guess I didn't ever get back up to do Spiral Cave. Maybe something was up at Spiral Cave like Powder. I guess they're coming back to me now that I'm thinking through. There were a couple locations. I didn't do Hair Basement. I didn't do Left Side Swamp, which I know was only one item after getting the big chest hint. So there were a couple other locations, I guess, that I had out there. But one of the nice things about hard mode, even though you're not going to get that butter sword, there still are 4 swords out there in the pool. So the chances of one being in GT at the point where I could get in there were so high still. I'm really surprised there was only one, but I was pretty sure there was going to be one up there. And if not, I didn't have very many places left to go back to. So it's not like I would have had to climb Death Mountain again. You've got a very convenient GT entrance in Inverted, so wouldn't have been too much time lost, I don't think.
Yeah, the hearts in the beginning of this game were pretty stingy, which is what you'd expect in a hard mode seed. But you had surprisingly few deaths. I mean, obviously many intentional deaths and dungeon resets, but overall you didn't seem to have too much difficulty. Did you is it something that you're just it just went your way today?
Once you get blue mail, that's a big help. It's always nice to find in hard mode. You're not going to have a lot of hearts, like you said. Although we did have some, you can be on 3 hearts for a very long time in hard mode, and I want to say we had 5 hearts relatively quickly, which is a significant amount of breathing room for the early game, especially Inverted, where you're in the dark world and everything's doing 2-3 hearts of damage. But yeah, it's just a matter of don't try and go too fast, as silly as that sounds. You just want to take care of your health. Certain locations, you can get very used to having a lot of hearts, especially late in rando seeds, because typically you've got 16 hearts as you're getting close to the end of the game, and you can run through some damage. You probably saw very confused Buane trying to find his way around some GT rooms without taking damage in this one, because I was on suddenly a half heart of health and trying to think, all right, can I even get through this room without taking the damage that you normally just kind of tank? So some weird situations like that. But overall, yeah, even with the book on the pedestal, I felt like everything had been pretty efficient up to that point. I didn't really feel behind. I hadn't taken any deaths, like it said, and as long as I found a sword, I felt pretty good about what was going on. I did see during the Ganon fight that KillerApp had to forfeit because of the internet issues, and I'm going to blame that on why my Ganon was so bad. So at least I have an excuse.
Well, yeah, sometimes... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought I was going to change the topic. If you had another question on this.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, sometimes, when the runners do see things happen in the SRL IRC, it can be distracting. It kind of throws your rhythm off. So, I'll say that's an acceptable excuse for the Ganon fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one I'll stick with right now. I don't know if it really holds much water, but I need something to blame it on, because the first couple phases went well, and maybe all the warps threw me off. Let's go with that one.
Well, yeah, there were a lot of warps. I thought your GT, especially with the only the Master Sword, was a really clean GT overall. So I wouldn't feel bad about the Ganon fight maybe taking a few seconds longer. You got a really nice surprise, right before your race started, knowing that you won your slot progression into the brackets phase. This win here gives you a better seating position. So that's obviously optimal. How do you feel like doing a race where you already know that you got your advancement like half an hour before? How do you feel starting a race like that?
I was definitely watching intently. We had, our group has been weird all throughout the tournament. We've actually been pretty much bringing up the rear in terms of games played. So there's been a lot of games in our group in the last week and a half as we've tried to kind of knock them all off and get down to the end. So there was not really a clear picture of what was going to happen or what could happen in our group for a very long time. So I was definitely tuned in just before this match to see what was going on with Andy and KillerApp. It definitely took some of the pressure off, although even if KillerApp had taken that game, worst case scenario, we would have a tiebreaker race. So it's not like this was the edge for me. But it was certainly nice to know, hey, whatever happens, I'm already in the brackets. it definitely let me make a couple decisions that I probably normally wouldn't have. The Hera basement skip and, not doing Spiral Cave, little things like that that I was just, I think they're the right play, but in a, much more important match, you don't want to lose the race at the 40-minute mark because you skip a location trying to save a little time. But other than that, it definitely relaxes you. It's been a long, grueling group stage. We had one of the, I think, top to bottom strongest groups out there, the 6 of us. So there's not been any easy matches, and certainly this one was no exception.
Well, I congratulate you on moving ahead. This gives you a 12-3 record, and that will, right now, I believe Andy has a 12-2. So you'll either be tied for first or second, but either way, moving ahead to the bracket stage, which is top 32. So, wow.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. I think Andy wins the top spot no matter what happens in his race that's still ongoing right now. He was 2-1 against me. I think that's the tiebreaker when it's just seeds that are in the balance. I'm not even actually positive, but the way I approached it was we had such a strong group that if I did make brackets, well, I got to play some really good players along the way, and if I made brackets, well, then I get to play some really good players. So I'm looking forward to it. Take a couple days off here, relax, and come back strong next week for some more really good racers playing rando.
Yeah, so kind of alluding to that, we potentially had the scenario for Group G here, where we could have had 3 people, KillerApp, Buane, and Andy, potentially having a race off for those top 2 positions. So, that's, looking at Buane's side here, coming into this race knowing that's not even a possibility anymore, kind of takes a load off of your mind, going into this race. It lets you think a little clearer because you're not thinking of the bigger picture in some aspects. You're not getting ahead of yourself. So, props to KillerApp. Very, very nicely done group stage. Fought to the bitter end and did a very nice job of that. We've had a lot of runners, get so close here, and that's unfortunately part of competition where, some people do have to lose, but we've had a great group stage, and I believe that is concluding tonight at midnight, unless we have a race off.
Yeah, there was another race last night, that could have been a potential 2-3-way as well. So surprisingly, that's a little bit more common than I would have thought. But yeah, we are wrapping up, and I will, unless you have anything else to say, Buane, I'll go ahead and close up the stream here.
So just, GG to KillerApp. 10-5 is a great record to finish this off with. It's unfortunate he's not moving on. He was a name you did not want to see in your group, given how low he was actually ranked through the qualifiers relative to his talent, which, he's one of the scarier lower tier players. So to have him in the group was not comfortable from the start. He took some wins off of everybody. He did very well. GG to him. GG to everybody else. Thanks everybody for, behind the scenes, you guys doing the commentary, tracker, restream, everything like that. And everybody who tuned in, thanks, and see you guys next time.
Excellent. Well, on that note then, links are in Twitch chat for both Buane and KillerApp. Shame that, we had technical difficulties. That could have been a really close race, but Buane does move on. If you guys want to look at some other races, we are wrapping things up tonight, but we have a race. We have 2 races in progress. Speed Gaming 5 is a race between Rywek and Vivi that's been in progress for 40 minutes. And the race just started 10 minutes ago. Banta v Zyrak on ALTTP Randomizer. Both standard races. No more inverted for tonight, unfortunately. But check out either of those races, and there's a few on the schedule for tomorrow, but we are mostly wrapped up. So I will say thank you, of course, to our tracker Reg for doing an amazing job. That just not falling flat dead after Blind's Hut was an accomplishment in and of itself. Keeping track of the Ganon's Tower chests, keeping us honest. Tracker's doing an amazing job, so thank you very much, Reg. The Speed Gaming staff for hosting and keeping everything running. And Dante, this is the second time we've got the comm It's been a lot of fun, and you coached me through Inverted. So thank you so much, Dante. That's it for me, Tiro, and the last words can go to you, sir.
You know, Tiro, it's been a pleasure as well. I enjoyed counting with you both times. It's been so much fun. GG's again to Buane and KillerApp. Very nice performance from them, and I do also hate that internet problem happened. And GG to Reg for tracking, as Tiro was saying, with the way that Blind's Hut happened. That was, you know, a whole lot. So, absolutely intense. But it's been fun. I'm really looking forward to watching these bracket stages. It's going to be a whole lot of fun to see these matches. This is where the competition gets crazy. New expert difficulty. I say new, but it's new to this tournament. That could come into play. So we'll have to see how that goes. But I believe it's best 3 out of 5 in single elimination. So it's definitely going to kind of be some of that on the edge of your seat action. So stay tuned. I'm sure there'll be something going on as far as when brackets are announced. But it's been a pleasure, guys. I hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you next time.